All right. And we're live. Welcome back to the Trampled Underfoot Podcast show. These are your hosts, Mark Lindsay and Eloy Escagedo. What's going on, Mark?
Oh man, too much stuff to mention. There's a lot of things happening, a lot of things going on. But it's been a wild ride. It's been a wild ride. Did you want to address the elephant in the room and just talk about a little bit, teeny tiny bit about our absence for the last little bit, or no? Save
I
that
love
for
I
the
love how
after
you
show.
I love how you measure it like you keep a constraint, but you're
Yeah,
subtle with it because
yeah.
you don't want the Jack in the Box to explode all with confetti
Well,
all over the place.
it's my edit, so I can take this out.
No, I can be concise because who knows? Maybe in this time away, I've become very concise in my approach and changed up 110%. Or maybe I'm the same guy that I left back there a month and a half to 2 months ago.
That's where the money is. That's where
That's
the
where the
odds
money
are
is.
at Vegas. Yeah.
We do grow. There's one thing I do want to. We do now. In general, we do grow, but maybe it's not outward. It doesn't show too well. In many situations, there's a saying, and I don't remember exactly with who I was having the conversation, but the saying was, and I brought it up in conversation, and the saying was, um, I totally forgot the darn saying just now. What was the saying?
I don't know.
No,
You
I'm
were going to
asking my
tell me.
No, I'm asking my brain. When you
Oh,
said I don't know, you cut into the brain, the brain cells, and they said, "Oh wait, listen." Um, the saying is, I forgot, man. I can't believe we started with.
sorry about that.
It's a good saying, but I can't remember. So I guess we'll address the elephant in the room quickly. We stopped the show because I could not. If you guys recall, for those that were here, I could not, in good conscience, have a pleasant conversation with you guys out there and Mark when there was a critical situation going on that was very close hitting to home for me, and that was over, the atrocities and bullying that was occurring in Cuba at the time and still is. So I couldn't, in good conscience, interact with you guys and not have that in the. I was just, you know, disturbed about it. So we decided to take a hiatus in order to let the waters calm and be able to bring you um, us as we are typically, regularly, which is free and
Quality
it's
entertainment.
yeah, and exploring and ideas and whatnot and freely. So that's was that concise enough?
Yeah, that was a major part of it, and that was the incentive to kind of step back and take a little bit of a hiatus, maybe breathe. I mean, we had done 152 episodes without a break. So that's when you count it all up, that's over 2 years
Mhm.
without a break and not missing a beat.
Yeah,
Unless one of us had an emergency, weather knocked the power out or something like that.
hysterectomy.
But yeah, well, I didn't even know you were sick. But God, my nose is itching. My mother used to tell me that means you're going to get money.
Here's the
Well,
saying. Here's the
here's a
saying I had forgotten before. Familiarity breeds contempt. I forget the conversation I was having with someone, and that saying sort of popped up. Maybe it was in our conversation
I
in
don't know.
between. But it was the concept of once you get to know someone, um, your mind kind of has already fixed itself in saying, well, this is, as an example, Eloy, and these are the parameters in which Eloy operates. And I know the signals that are going to come from him in reference to certain topics. So we kind of, and human beings are, it helps us make sense of the world around us, and we do see patterns that arise. But every now and then, human beings have been known to do stuff that totally turns everything and dead. So I just wanted to lay that was in reference to what you had mentioned
Yeah.
okay, so that's where we're at.
Okay, so, but hey, all that in the past, we're back,
That's right.
and we're going to run it as long as we can. And
Yep.
so long as our podcast host will have us, basically. So Okay. I do have a topic for you.
Hmm.
Um, it may take a little bit of setup. I would not in any way, shape, manner, or form consider us an adult podcast.
Well,
Would you
excuse me.
agree? Would you
It,
agree on that?
I mean,
We
I
we
don't
we
know.
we basically talk about sometimes mature topics, but
Yeah.
we stay family friendly, and
Oh,
we don't touch on topics that if your 4-year old or your grandma came into the room, you would rush over real quick and shut it off so that they didn't hear that. I mean,
no. What we are is eclectic
mhm,
in our in like our different topics. We're kind of eclectic, so we talk about, and we're kind of like it's just an in a way it's an average Joe thing, and
right.
with a little bit of mystery and a little bit of just culture. I don't know. So yeah, I agree with you that we're
Yeah,
not.
we're kind of PG mainly because kids would find us boring and go look for something else, but nothing offensive.
Yeah, I
Oh,
wouldn't use the word so. And by the way, and we're not professionally trained because
oh heck no.
nobody, no professional. You won't hear, yeah, we're boring, so this and that, and we're
Yeah.
PG. Saying PG to
Hmm.
something may have sounded good in the 1980s when my parents, oh, this is PG, let's go take. But PG is also almost like a curse nowadays in reference to like what's hip and hip, what's
Well,
hip.
what that
Um,
all I meant by that was, we stay family friendly.
yeah, we
And the
do.
reason I say PG is because most kids would find us boring as heck and would just, wouldn't
It,
last.
it just
So,
depends on what kid. Yeah, well, most kids,
well,
yeah.
the 6-year-olds aren't lining up out in the chat. So that's the only thing I have to go by.
Well, there's no real structure on what the see, there we go again using
Mhm.
key terms like there's no real structure, because the thing is there's something to be said about an ongoing conversation about the world around you, reflecting on the past,
Sure.
curiosities that occur in history and space and time. So we're kind of eclectic, like I was saying. I think that
Right.
that's sort of, but we're not nasty, like we're
No,
not we're not out to
no.
so yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, with that in mind, and with all that we've just said about that, today I want to talk about voyeurism.
Oh goodness! So you just threw this on its heels?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but not from that point of view. And this is going to take a little bit of setup, so I'm going to ask you to kind of stick with me here, okay?
Okay. Can I just say one little thing before?
Okay.
I pictured like a lady with one heel up on a stool with
See,
with a cigarette. With what are those little thin pipes that the cigarette goes
the
attached
cigarette
to?
holder.
And like a garter belt, and like those little closet door slits.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I
See,
pictured.
now I know where your dirty mind went, and you should be ashamed and get your mind out of my gutter. It's too crowded.
Okay.
From a different angle than that, though.
Okay, but it is a good. Okay.
And what I mean by that, like I said, this is going to take a little bit of setup. I fall down YouTube rabbit holes, and we've discussed that ad nauseum.
Yeah.
And I get interested in certain topics and start watching certain channels
Hmm.
because I'm interested in the topic. For instance, there's one couple that I discovered. It started out just the guy, and he was building a barn that he ordered as a kit off the internet.
Okay.
Built this barn, and I mean, it's gorgeous. It's, like 40 by 40. It's huge, and it's all post and beam. And at first it was just him and a couple of friends, and then the friends went away, and then suddenly his wife got into the picture, and then suddenly the channel kind of changed, and it became less and less about the project. They started adding more and more about the family. Then they introduced their daughter, who is school age, you know. And it out of a 30-minute video, there was maybe 10 minutes of it him working on building this barn. Switch over to another channel, started out with a guy who bought a house, a stone house that was built in the early 1800s, and he set about renovating it, to move his family into it. Long-term project. And it started out with him. And I mean, he stripped this sucker down to the stone walls and the big oak beams that supports all the floors, and then started rebuilding it. Gradually, his kids started becoming more and more a part of the podcast, of the video series. And his wife got involved. She was helping at first. Then she got pregnant. Then she had a child. And now the kids are growing up on the channel.
I can see you stuck with it. I can see you stuck with through the whole.
Well, there's another family that started renovating a house, but pretty soon the kids got more and more involved in it, to the point to where, oh, little Susie drew a new picture. Let's spend 10 minutes talking to her about this picture.
Yeah.
And it became less and less and less about the project and more about the family and their private life. And I'll be honest, I've unsubscribed from a couple of these because I'm there for the project. That's what got me hooked.
Right.
But it got me to thinking about that type of voyeurism in watching, I mean, a family dynamic where they're sitting down and they're eating dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a time lapse of them eating dinner while there's a voiceover playing at the end, talking about, thank you for, joining us and this, that, and the other. And it's like, when did our society become so voyeuristic? Some of these guys have, they all of these channels that I've talked about, all but one, have well over 100,000 subscribers. One of them has 260 something. The other one's sitting at 40,000. How did we become so voyeuristic? Because I'll be honest, I don't know what I think about that. It's pretty unsettling to me. Yeah. About how people, I make YouTube videos, but it's me. I'm putting myself out there. I'm not putting Linda or our house or our family out there for public consumption. I don't know. Maybe I should. Maybe I should get some of the family on board and get people interested in our backstory. But I can't stop. But why are we doing this? Why have we become so voyeuristic?
There's so many answers for that.
Well, what do you think? What's your reaction to that?
I don't know. It's too big of a topic to encapsulate into. So I'll ask you this, and then we'll go from there. Are you suggesting, and I'm coming at this, I don't want to say from a clean slate, because obviously I'm part of the society in this world, even though I am slightly the hermit. But none of us gets out of it alive. We're all part of each other.
Sure.
It is what it is. But as much as a clean slate as I can from what you said, do you think there was a time when that wasn't the case? Eliminating, and I'm talking about what you're saying, people's voyeurism to whatever degree, because it varies. It has to vary, right?
Sure.
Some people get their fix with one little episode, maybe other people, I don't know. But was there, prior to the technology that we use now, wasn't that the case as far as people?
Not near as much as it was. I mean, as much as it is now. I know that the reality show started a lot of this, but it does go back to hidden camera interviews and shows like Candid Camera, where they had just the regular man on the street reacting to an absurd situation, But we have become, I don't know.
It's tough. It's a tough thing what you just asked.
Well, we were content with entertainment. We would watch the dramas, we would watch the sitcoms, the westerns, the variety shows, and all that. Now, that's not enough. There has to be a backstory. It's not enough to see Tim the Toolman Taylor come out and go, art, talking about the Binford 2000 drill. Now you have to know Tim's backstory. And what's the backstory of that guy in the audience right there who was smiling?
But
There,
but
it's no longer enough to say today I'm going to build a table. Now we have to know about the kids who he's building the table for. And there has to be a backstory. And what do they do for a living? And, you know, things like that. And I just don't get that. I don't understand that.
but are we so I'm not, to be completely fair, um I'm not number one, this is a broad situation you just put on the table, because there's so many sort of like little
Mm-hmm.
avenues. So it's very difficult to, because I'm thinking to myself, are we maybe criticizing or focusing on, criticizing has a negative connotation, but are we focusing on technology and it's like, bad side, or are we actually critiquing the voyeurism aspect of it?
I,
Because, well, go ahead.
I'm grasping to understand that myself. Technology has made it easier, but it didn't start with technology. I
Yeah.
mean, reality television is as popular as it is because it was on television. Well, we don't get much of our entertainment from television anymore, relatively speaking, because there's so many streaming services out there. But all that's done has provided more platforms for more reality TV. You know, if you look at 20 years ago, you would have been hard pressed to find something. So we're looking at, the late 90s, the early to late 90s. You would have been hard pressed to find any kind of reality TV. It kind of started coming in with MTV when MTV switched formats. And then you had road rules, and you had
The Real World, I think it
the
was.
real world. That was the one I was trying to think of. Um, that kind of brought reality TV out to the forefront and made us that much more voyeuristic. Well, now we've moved beyond cable and we're into internet where you can say and do anything. And the more outrageous you make it, the more of an audience you're going to draw just because you're outrageous, you know. But I guess what I'm getting at is when I go to a channel to watch to follow a long project, a house renovation, for example, you're not going to find that in a 30-minute video. I mean, this guy who's rebuilding the stone house has been doing it. He's going on 5 years, posting a video a week. So I'm there for that renovation. I'm not there for the family dynamic. You know, I'm not there for little Susie's picture of a butterfly. I'm there to see what kind of flooring you're putting in the upstairs bedroom.
Okay, so let me address that particular thing, that
Okay.
at least what pops into my head, that like very narrow particular angle to this
Right.
hugely problematic to solve, to follow
Mhm.
through situation you've put us in, because it's very complex,
Oh,
um
extremely.
because there's many things that are variables. But the fact that you go to a channel with the understanding or expectation of a particular um information that you're
Mhm.
going to receive from it. In your case, you're looking for that information, but they're offering you that information slightly plus a whole lot of family drama, and you're like, well, what the heck, I'm here for that. And I think that the way that particularly YouTube, or basically anything, is that the categorization of what things are and are not is wildly out of whack.
Mhm.
There's no contained category, sort of boundaries for anything. It all bleeds into each other, where you have a little bit of that reality situation, family that you're talking about, reality situation, and with plus woodworking or plus
Yeah.
scientific bubbles in a little beaker,
Yeah.
So you have all these different. It's kind of like people are just doing what they do, and
Yeah.
the category isn't just drama, science, education. It's
Mm-hmm.
all that plus people's personalities and family lives and going to the
Mm-hmm.
groceries. So, long story short, I think that we're we spend a lot of time rummaging through to find what we want,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's too many choices. It's a good
You're
problem
right
to
about
have.
that.
It is. I think it's a good problem to have as opposed to having less choice. More choices. You can make the argument, the opposite argument that I'm making, but to me, more choices only means that um, the possibility of having more good stuff that I do want, I can get to. The negative side is it takes me longer to find and sift through, but I
Yeah.
don't want to have some sort of internet figure saying we're just going to keep this very narrow, and then I'm limited from different possible, because some things just spring you on to another
Right.
idea, concept, and so on. So the idea of I'm pro more stuff, even though more stuff leads to longer sort of search and parsing out of information.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I just wondered because if you go through and you read some comments in some of these videos, and now I will give credit where credit's due. The people that built the barn, they also went on and built a machine shed and a wood shed and a greenhouse and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
For about a year and a half, their daughter would appear quite often in their videos.
So
That
you spent a
that
year.
well, that kind of stopped. It slowed way down, and she's not in them anymore. Maybe peripherally in the background here and there. Now, I don't know what the incentive for that was. I don't know if the kid said, no, I don't want to be in your videos anymore, Dad, or if Dad said, no, we need to stop, or Mom said we need to stop, or if it's a mutual decision or what. I really don't know. But she's in there less and less. It as a dad and a grandfather, it kind of brought out a bunch of things for me in that I like to be protective. In that's my instinct is to protect. And I don't know what I think of
Kids
people
being
getting so emotionally invested in this family because it's no longer entertainment. That's we're talking about a minute ago. We were talking about the technology. That's one of the side effects of this technology is that it's easier to interact with people, and that allows people to get emotionally invested because you feel like you have a connection because maybe you typed a comment and they replied to it. When you and I were growing up, we couldn't write a letter to Jimmy Page and expect to get a reply. But now you could tweet him and you might get a reply. There's a possibility. Or if you're watching your favorite channel, you could make a comment that they might give you a little heart and reply back. So it's more interactive now, but I think that also feeds that emotional attachment and that emotional connection to, in these cases that I was talking about, the family that's involved. Because you're watching their kids grow up on the internet, whether the kids want that or not.
yeah.
And in some cases, I'm talking about 3-4 years old. They're not making that choice. Mom and dad are making that choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean it's a complicated thing. So why do we watch, regardless of technology right now, just throughout our existence, anybody from any era, why do we seek out, you know, whatever that the case might be, entertainment,
Mhm.
just generally speaking? And it's or information, whether it's entertainment, whether it's entertainment falls under the category going back in time with books, but it crosses over into education, because and both at the same time. Or it could be just a dirty mag where you're just laughing at funny cartoons, but you're still getting it. So why do people search out these externalities? We're not a bubble, and we need to reflect, to see in others interact. I think there's a psychological need. We learn from watching others.
Right. And I can understand that, heck, we laughingly refer to it as the University of YouTube. You go to YouTube for education, for entertainment, and for just silliness. If you want to watch gaming channels, they're right there. If you want to watch woodworking channels, they're right there. If you want to watch photography channels, they're right there.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess what I'm getting at is blurring that line. And I understand vlogging, and I understand, some people do want to put their whole life out there for everybody. I mean, look at some of these people who are on the sailboat channels, where that's all they're doing is they're sailing around and they're vlogging their entire life. We're in this port and let's go into town and buy some chicken or something like that.
It's funny.
Great.
It's funny because you're saying that right now. That indicates to me, and correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you just pulled it out of the air. But the other day I got some sailing channels, and I totally got into them. And now that you're saying that, probably the algorithm said, "Oh, this guy's typically associated with. Let's throw this guy some sailing channels. Maybe this guy will like some sailing channels."
I don't claim to understand YouTube's algorithm. I just wish they would let me cancel some of it, because for instance, I watched one video about 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, about a guy who built a model train set in his basement. I have been getting model train channels suggested to me ever since. And I can't get rid of that. I watched one stinking video. But I will guarantee you there's going to be, if I hit, go to YouTube and hit home, there's going to be a model train channel or somebody making a diorama for a model train set, because I watched one video 5 or 6 years ago. I wish I could just dump that, just flush that from your memory and forget that I watched that video. Okay.
So,
but I guess my whole point is these people that are on the sailboats and everything and doing that, they're doing that by choice. They're putting themselves out there, and more power to them. Well, I guess what I'm talking about is I have the right to put myself out there if I want to. But do I really have the right to put my wife out there, or my kids, or my grandkids, or the next door neighbors for that matter? My wife can make a decision. We can have a discussion and she can decide yes, no, or maybe. My kids also can, because they're old enough. My grandkids could too, because they're old enough. But I just don't like the whole idea. I really don't. To me, if you're going to do, if you're talking about the sailboat videos and everything and the family out there, what you're getting into. But when a channel slowly starts morphing and changing and turning into more about the family and less about the project, that's the time I hit that gray subscribed button and turn it red as unsubscribed. I think we need to let kids be kids and quit trying to make them internet stars. Let them be kids. Let them grow up.
Okay, so I think there's a lot there too. It's an impossibility to. So if you think of child actors, because I think that, I don't know that it's a perfect comparable, but if you think of child actors throughout history, there's some similarity, because you're presenting, these kids that aren't making up their minds on their own. Maybe they're apt, for acting, and so they really want it, and it's just
Mhm.
so in them that they can't help it, and the parents see that, and it's this is what my child, they just want to act. I know they're young, but they're like totally,
Mhm.
and so there could, and then there's a huge amount of people, I would assume, and I don't know what the percentages of that could be,
I
because
don't either.
any kid, if you tell them you want to act, and they'll be silly. I don't think kids are developed enough to know what they want and not want, and this and that. But within the world, there are like geniuses that play piano or know scientific stuff when they're little. So maybe there's um,
Yeah. I
you
mean,
an acting sort of slot for that.
well,
So, well,
school
go ahead, go ahead.
plays and speech and drama class in junior high school. I was in school plays in grade school. I was in speech and drama in junior high and high school. I was the
Yeah.
biggest ham you'd ever seen. It was all a game of dig me. I loved that stuff. And if somebody had a camera and pointed it at me, showtime. I I would have loved to have done that. I never pursued it because I had too many other things I wanted to do, and acting was work. I loved it when I was doing it, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that you don't see. There's a lot of hard work involved in it. And I just didn't dig that part of it. So when high school was over, so was my acting career. And I was happy that way.
Well,
But but to use your to use your example of child actors, I think the I think the majority of them really genuinely want to be there. And that's okay. To me, that's a different situation. What I'm talking about is somebody who gradually introduces their kids, and it becomes less and less about what you started with and more about the family dynamic and the family growing up. When your 30-minute video used to be all the work that you got done on the house this week, and now maybe 10 minutes of it is devoted to that. I mean, I spend a lot of time going through and watching just a little bit about the house, and then the rest of it's gone. I don't care about that. That's none of my business. I don't want to watch, And it's really, to me, it's unsettling. I just don't like it.
let me backtrack to what I was to the because I wanted to connect something.
Oh,
So
okay. I'm sorry.
the child actor,
Mhm.
as they get older and become adults, not in all cases, but we've also seen on TV and this and that, where where they're disgruntled or they have problems as adults and stuff, and I can't, and they sort of like slap the tag of they were child actors,
Mhm.
and so their disruptive life created this for them, and now as adults they can't manage.
Mhm.
You've seen all these situations that occur.
Yes, Gary Coleman and a few others. Yeah,
So
high profile.
we do see, and I don't know if it's due to the that change, because normal kids live, or as far as when we were growing up,
Mhm.
normal kids had that you were saying, where you didn't have all this access, you weren't really, you were just, you come home after school, normal things, and you weren't exposed to the world, you know um so the majority of kids, normal meaning the majority of kids, weren't on a platform where they're,
Mhm.
showing off and this and that, and where they're but we're not in that world anymore now. Normal for us back then is nowhere to be seen anymore.
Oh, for sure.
We're living in many different, a lot of things have changed. We don't know, I don't know, maybe there's studies out there, what effect this sort of your kids are on TV and this and that, what kind of effect that has. Maybe it has no noticeable effect because it's everybody's doing it. It's
Mhm.
just humanity plus
Well,
the internet.
yeah, we're doing it to ourselves too.
So
I
we
mean,
don't.
because there are kids that have YouTube channels where they're putting their own stuff out there. And I think that's fine. I have absolutely no problem with Johnny jumping on his skateboard and taking off down to the park with his friends and just shooting the bull or shooting video of them skating and doing a YouTube channel like that, I have absolutely no problem. But see, that's their choice to do that. It's almost like they're parading the family for, they're not feeding the voyeurism.
For likes and subscriptions and stuff.
Yes. It's I won't say feeding voyeurism, but feeding our need for the backstory. We have to have that backstory. And you hear it all the time. Oh, I'd love to find out that character's backstory. Why? It's not important to the story you're watching now.
No, it is
You
okay.
know?
So I have to. I'll go against that for
Mhm.
the sake of going against that. Your why as to this extra stuff
Mhm.
is somebody else's. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
In a sea of, I know because that's why we're
Mhm.
having this particular situation. In a world of so many different, um, I guess, preferences, you would say, for entertainment and like, take you and me. I have queued up great documentary, American Moon English version, which is all about all the inconsistencies with the moon landing. It I'm not I am totally down with all this conspiracy stuff, all of it. I enjoy it. Well, not all of it, but I enjoy it. I love it. Does it mean that I'm going to go ahead and put on a aluminum foil hat? For 90 some percent of people in the world, the fact that I'm going to watch a conspiracy thing
Yeah.
already attaches me with a certain, kind of like what we spoke about in the beginning, a certain, oh, this guy goes with this, therefore he's that.
Yeah.
Uh, because we need to make sense of the world, so you might as well categorize things, put things on a shelf in their right. So we need to do that in order to function, but that's just a layer of reality in order for us to freaking get around. But if you communicate with a person in specific, then you find out all these things. I'll finish with this. Going back to the preferences and whatnot, what you find not necessarily a cool thing, I can see where you're coming from. I don't know that I would put my kids out there to gain likes and whatnot. I'll just finish with this one bit. Um, Other people are willing, obviously, to do that, and they
Sure.
do. The saving grace, or not the saving grace, the thing is, so many people doing it, um, not not many of them. It ends up that not many of them are going to be like the bee's knees of the
Right.
family at the ranch. So they might, some people might get like 200 views. So that's all. Or
Yeah.
other people, there might be standouts and stuff. So at the end of the day, from that aspect of them getting what they want out of it, um, for most people, it's not going to work out. But there are
True.
the key ones. So there is a little balance in that, but maybe not so much for the kids growing up. How does
No.
that work in their heads?
It,
And I
it, it-
don't know the answer to that.
I guess my thing is there's just a creepiness factor to it. There's just when I'm sitting there watching this guy, tile the bathroom. I'm watching a guy tile a bathroom, and I may like his choice of tile. I may not like his choice of tile, but I'm watching him rebuild something that's well over 200 years old, and that's interesting to me. But when suddenly the kid comes popping in the door and says, "Dad, come look at this new picture I just drew," or "Hey, look what we made. We tied two sticks together," or something like that, you lose me immediately. Because to me, that's what I mean when I say voyeuristic.
Yeah.
When you put yourself out there as a guy who's renovating a home, and then all of this unrelated stuff, and to be fair, I would be saying the exact same thing if it was his brother walking in the door
Mhm.
and talking about, "Come look at the new truck I bought." What does that have to do with this home renovation? It has nothing to do with it. Let's
But
let's
but there's
let's
two things. There's a few things happening there. You're at this moment, in my opinion, you're critiquing the fact that, in my opinion, with this example, that there's a discipline that that video is dedicated to, that you're under the assumption that that's what they're offering. But these,
because that's what they're putting forth, that's what they are offering.
okay, and that, but and yet they're not. They're
Right.
bringing an extra something in there, which to you is like, what the heck? So
Yeah.
it goes back to the categorization thing. If I do a video, if and the truthfulness of the titles,
Yes.
um, so it's a situation of there's no rules against lying on your title.
No, there's nothing. No, there's nothing. And we vote
So
with our feet,
yeah,
you know. And like I said, I've unsubscribed from a couple of these guys because the channel just morphed. And like I said, it's creepy to me. It really is. It's unsettling as heck.
so
And
so
I
so
guess my bigger question is not so much, and I'm not criticizing them as much as you think I am.
no,
I'm,
no. Let me just
I'm
leave in my head,
Go ahead.
a key moment, because I had an insight. I'm just gonna go click. I had a key moment. Go ahead, because I don't want to miss this opportunity. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, what I was going to say was I'm not criticizing them as much because they're going to make the content they want to make. And if they found an audience, great.
Mhm.
I guess I'm criticizing us, the public at large. Why do we care? Why do we find it so easy to get emotionally invested in
Yeah.
this family who lives 2,000 miles away from us, who is doing their thing, and we just have to watch? Why do we care? Why do we become so emotionally involved in complete strangers?
Okay. See, you totally. This is a really messed up topic, because the problem is that there's too much there. Let me just unclick that thing that I had before.
Okay.
But that question is so. Do you think that that guy that owns that channel, that's doing the woodwork or the renovation, um, you're watching him for whatever length of time throughout the year or
Mm-hmm.
years, and then he's transitioning into, you see him slipping into more family life stuff, and you're watching this on display. Do you think that that guy, that obviously is a talented guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he's got skills, but he's using his skills plus the camera through to YouTube so that
Mm-hmm.
people can watch? Do you think that that guy, he's aware that there's a camera because he's doing that and editing and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot, but he's slipping into this other thing? Do you think that he psychologically is aware of it? Is he becoming lackadaisical with
No,
his discipline? Is he subconsciously flowing into just, this is my life? What do you think is going on?
he's doing it on purpose. He's including his kids and his wife
As
more and
bait?
more. I don't know if it's bait, but I personally, I think in one case, I think this one guy is burnt out because he's been doing it for quite some time. The guy
So
with
you
the
might as well.
5-year house, I
So let's
think
think.
he's burnt out because his progress on the house is getting less and less and less. And it's more and more about kids and family life. So
Right.
I don't know if he's consciously trying to turn this into a vlogging channel and make it less about the house,
Mhm.
or if he is subconsciously allowing, because not only does he film it, and it's fine to film, you can film whatever you want to film,
Yeah.
but you're going to edit it and then put it out on the internet.
Yeah.
So even during the editing process, are you making the right decision and not saying, no, you know what, I'm going to cut the mailman out of this because it has nothing to do with this project? Or are you purposely bringing them in to try to make yourself appear more human? And you're not just this guy on the internet who is working on a house. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm criticizing us for feeding the monster.
So you're not criticizing him for doing what he's
No,
doing.
if he wants to make a vlogging channel about his family, who happens to be also restoring this house, more power to him. He's found his audience. I've just unsubscribed because I am unsettled by the direction the channel has gone. And I know it's my problem, not his. He's
Exactly.
got his audience.
I'm 100%. That's the thing that's sitting right there.
Yes, it's my problem, not his. I'm
Right.
just wondering why we do that, because if he didn't have an audience, he wouldn't do it. You know what I mean?
There's a
If
lot of
if
people.
if he went from 150,000 subscribers to 25,000 because his kids were on, he would change it. But that's not happened.
Yeah, but that's not. It depends on where his incentive is.
True.
See, that's the problem with all this. So the problem with all this is this: some people just simply do like me.
Mhm.
I'll take myself as an example, as a perfect. I'm not bringing other people in. I have in the past that when my friends visit from Georgia or whatever,
Mhm.
I've brought my friend in and so on and so forth. I do what the heck I want to do,
Mhm.
as long as I can, for as long as I have a woodworking channel, and I put genealogy stuff on there because I feel like it.
Yep.
As cut and dry as that is, and as unpalatable it may be for others out there that are into my woodworking, if they're still around, or they're into the genealogy and then they see a woodworking or whatever the case may be. I personally, I look at the landscape and I look at myself, and I did try to stay disciplined and stuff for years. But at the end of the day, I thought, you know what? Whatever tickles my fancy, I'm going to go ahead and do it, regardless of the audience that may or may not see it, just for the thrill of it.
Right.
How do you factor it? So, putting the fact that I use myself as an example, to the side. How do you factor in an equation of however many people on YouTube there are, and their different sort of like leanings and thoughts about. I mean, there's people that take a microphone and just talk nonsense into it. So
Yeah.
you have some sort of. There's
Yeah.
so many weird. And by the way, as weird as that is, and here's another problem to go to what you're saying. As weird as that, to me, I use the word weird with that microphone stuck in your mouth while you're saying eating potato chips and this and that. As weird as that weird thing is, that I would never have thought of in my life. I would not have thought of that thing, that
Yeah.
technique. It wouldn't have crossed my head. The fact that I ran across one of those videos like millions of others and actually sat and watched. I did so I sat and watched one for quite a while. Not it was like a hot babe doing that close to the microphone, but regardless of the hot babe, you can watch hot babes and driving
Right.
in auto shows or this or that. But the layout of that and the way I particularly think, I examined it for a while, thinking, "What the heck am I watching here?" And I thought to myself as I'm watching this, who are the people? Are there actually people that enjoy this and it soothes their souls? Are there? And I was thinking all these things, and I watched it. I categorized it, like I said before, in my brain, and now I know there exists a stupid thing to me that I will never watch.
Yeah. Well, you got to try something to find out if you like it or not. But back
Yeah,
to your using
yeah.
yourself as an example, you are no longer putting yourself out there as a woodworking channel. You
But my
haven't changed.
title,
You haven't changed the name of your channel, no. But
yeah.
you are not promoting yourself as a woodworking channel. You're not trying to work on sponsorship deals and getting them as a woodworking channel.
Okay, that's a
One of these
category.
one of these guys is putting himself out there as a home renovation channel, and he is getting sponsorship deals when about a third of his content has anything to do with home renovation. The rest of it is family vlogging.
But
So,
but
but
hold on.
again, that's his choice.
But no, but you see why. But you understand. Obviously, you understand why these
Mhm.
companies want that guy, regardless of what the heck he's doing.
Yeah, but well, I'm not going to denigrate anybody's business at all. If
No, but the
you,
process, you
but
know.
what I'm getting at is he's not getting the top shelf companies. you know.
Okay, that's but so
Mhm.
okay, so let's. Everybody's seen. We see it all the time back in the day. So we're watching like MacGyver,
Mhm.
back in 1989, 8 o'clock at night, hot Florida evening,
Yeah.
with the iced tea sitting on top of the fridge with the ice
Mhm.
cubes melting, tobacco chewing neighbors sitting over there shooting the squirrels. No. So back in the day, you're watching MacGyver, and then frickin' like the commercial comes on, and it's like Tampax, buy 2 for 1, and stuff. It has nothing to do with. I know
Right,
it's
but
different,
you
but
know what you're getting into with that. You're watching commercial television, you know what you're getting into.
can I just say, the reason that I mentioned this is
Mhm.
the company could care less. Not all of them,
Mhm.
as long as they have eyes that'll just catch a glimpse of their thing,
Mhm.
regardless of what the actual content is.
Yeah.
And that's all they particular for their brand they care about.
Yeah.
Mind you, I'm no advertising genius, but I'm
Me either.
thinking that would be, in other words, it's a very weird, and I like anything goes at this point,
It
just
is.
about.
It is, but say that. But say that. If you want to turn it into which is it became. If you want to turn it into a family vlogging channel, just say it. That's all. Because it's no longer about the house. It's no longer about the renovation project. It's about the whole family dynamic. And I'm just not interested in that, which is why I
Right.
unsubscribed and I left.
Yeah.
You know, um, I can't imagine like a company that does renovations. Today, we're going to build this garage over here. We're going to add it onto this house that was built in 1963 and never had a garage. I can't see a contractor out there running a construction site and then suddenly bringing his kids in and showing them a picture that, little Susie drew. I don't see that happening.
All right, but let me just.
So, yeah, the guy is doing it by himself. It's his family's going to be his family's home. I just, that's my big problem is the kids.
Well, but no, you're saying a few things at the same time, though.
I
You're
know I
you're
am. I
you're
know I
bringing up
am.
many problems. Also, okay, so look, on TV. I know this is not TV, but on TV, we do have, for better or worse, a set. When it's um I was gonna say Jerry Springer, but I'm talking about Jerry, the New York comedy show. What was that? Steinfeld.
Seinfeld? Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're Jerry Springer, either or, pick your poison.
Yeah.
Um, you know what you're getting, and there's a
Exactly.
repetitive thing, and every time you go to the TV and turn it on or cable, you're getting and the parameters in which that
And
exists is a safe bet.
and
But
and you go there because that's what you want.
right, well, yes, but on the World Wide Web and in YouTube, it's really, what would you say? It's not. It's kind of like the Wild West,
It
and
is.
and and these people that are the platform. Well, I'm saying that, but they're the platform. Eyes and the controllers. Um, they're kind of like the sheriffs and laying down the law, however
Mhm.
that looks like in their particular world. But it's the Wild West at the same time. And
Yeah, I
how do I
agree.
feel? How do I feel about not getting? If you were to have asked me, how do I feel about not getting what they're promising? I feel the same as you, because it's a letdown. Um,
Yeah.
so if you're asking me about them saying, "Hey, we're a yogurt churning channel," and they're
Mhm.
like not showing yogurt churning, instead they're doing like unboxing videos or something like that,
Mhm.
I might think, well, this is a waste of time, and I'll just move along.
Right.
But you brought in other issues.
And that's because things have changed and my attitude has changed. The kids are out playing in the yard while you're working on the door, fine. You know, but when the kid becomes almost a featured performer, I think that introduces a level of creepiness that I'm just not comfortable with because I'm not interested in watching this child grow up on the internet. I'm there for the house renovation.
Yeah.
Now, again, if you want to make it a family vlogging channel, you go right on ahead and knock yourself out. But say it, make that statement, let folks know, don't say this is a renovation channel, because it's not. There's some renovation happening, but that's not the main focus. When only 1/3 is the renovation and 2/3 is the family and the family dynamic, you're no longer a renovation channel. You're a vlogging channel. Just say it.
So you have a criteria.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll say this. It's a good conversation. I don't know that there's
There isn't an answer.
There's no answer to this.
No.
Because it's too wild and
Yeah.
but it's good conversation. I don't know any other solution other than what you said at one point, which is that we vote with our feet.
Mm-hmm.
Because and you really don't have, it may be distasteful. Look, I'll give it, to make it more complicated, what you've brought up, because this is a complete like crazy thing that you've brought up. Within the world of what you're saying, this is a crazy thing because there's no solution to it. There's a guy, he's a bald-headed guy, and he's like a philosopher guy, and he's like, I don't want to call him a Satanist, although he's used that, but he's kind of like an not even an agnostic, an atheist. Okay. And he does a call-in show, like a cable access type thing, but he does it now on YouTube and stuff. And he's become pretty famous for that crowd of people that are atheist supporters. And they do what you call debates with religious people.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll sit and debate in different forums. And the guy's climbed the ranks to reach to the point where he's done huge hauls with people like Jordan Peterson, professor from Canada, where they've argued back and forth and stuff. And I like debates. So I like debates because I learn as people argue with each other points and stuff. I learn. I may agree with a little bit of what both people are saying within the structure of an argument. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter that the content is, religion or this or that. There's an interaction and there's a process of winning over an idea. And the key of winning over is the preponderance of a truth or of an evidence being placed so firmly in front of everybody that you either are not honorable and have to and slither away, or honorable and say, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So I like that whole structure. Well, I don't like what the guy's position is. I still watch him, but to me it's like, and the way he handles himself, but I watch it in the context of what I watch it. So when you mentioned earlier, and the context was I just mentioned, where they're having an argument, let's see how this works out. Many times the atheist guy is on solid ground with because the religious guy is going through on his religious bent, but they're not considering that both things don't work with there's a whole thing. But when you mention, what you like and don't like within the structure and people being honest and all this, there's so much out there that's going on so many different levels that you basically have to frickin' sift through a slew of things and channels and information to get to, and there's no real, because everybody's got different tastes and what they can tolerate varies.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I've walked away from a couple of these channels, is simply because they changed over time and started including too much fluff. I can watch vlogging channels all day long. My main problem keeps coming back to the kids. Just leave them out of it. Let them be kids. Being a kid's a hard enough job. Because I'm with you. When we were young growing up, you came home from school, you changed out of your school clothes, got into your play clothes, and I was gone. I knew to be home around 5 o'clock for dinner. Then I was gone. And I came home before the street lights came on. That was the only criteria. I didn't want none of your cameras. I didn't want none of this other stuff. Just let me go play with my friends. We're going to go jump our bikes down the canyon here. That was it. Let the kids be kids, And I think for us, there is no solution. But for
No.
us, stop feeding the monster. Stop feeding the monster. We don't have to have everybody's backstory. We don't need to know the intimate details of what's going on in this family.
I will
mean,
say
look at
this.
how big of a superstar Honey Boo Boo was for a little while. Have you heard of her lately?
I've heard that name and it's cringy. Just the whole concept. See, stuff
Yep.
like that. Just the whole, like somebody mentioned earlier on, the Kardashians. I have
Mhm.
never watched a
Me
single
either.
show. Um, those things are cringy as heck.
Yeah, to me too.
But that's my call it what it is. That's my bias
Mhm.
without even knowing what the heck it is. It's like you telling me that guitarist with the headband, the bandana, and this and that, and me saying, "Oh, he's got a bandana, and I hated him when I was." And these are bias that we all go through.
Sure.
But as far as wanting to know more, whatever that more is, I think it's you have 100% of the population, and whatever percent, let's say a huge chunk, they are content with certain types of entertainment and this and that. Then you have another percent that wants to dig deeper into other types of, and you have all these different things. I think people generally, regardless of whether we consider it valid or not valid, they're going to explore and want to learn more if their dance
Yes.
routines. And
Yeah, they're going to want to explore and they're going to want to learn more. And back when it was only on TV, we called those people stalkers. But because we're doing it to ourselves by putting ourselves out there on whatever social media platform, TikTok, what have you,
yeah,
it's no longer stalking. It's the same thing. It's just we're doing it to ourselves. I don't have to put a camera in my neighbor's backyard. He's already got one there. I just subscribe to his channel.
it gets to the point where everybody,
it's getting that bad.
if everybody's got a camera, which
Mhm.
everybody does,
Mhm.
and everybody's filming everything, which practically everybody does,
Mhm.
by sheer onslaught of video, everybody can't consume it all.
Right.
We'll never be able to consume it all. It is a miracle that anybody will find any one of those channels. And
Yeah.
whoever does, they found it because they're looking for it or their personal criteria. So there's too much. I don't know what the numbers are because we've talked about that in the past, where YouTube uploads X amount per hour that is impossible to watch in over a month.
Yeah.
Or I don't know what the statistics are, but we can look it up. It's overwhelming. So at this point, there's so much information out there. It's a miracle that you get 2 hits or 1 hit on a thing.
Well, I would agree with you normally, but when you've got 260,000 subscribers, that's more than just a chance discovery.
Yeah.
People
are liking it then.
Yeah, they are. They're very much liking it.
But that's not the majority of people around the world.
Now, I will also say I'll give the other people, the people who built the barn, I'll give them credit where credit is due, because not only did they pull back and not feature their daughter as much, they also changed the format of their channel, and you now know it's a vlogging channel. He's not building a barn anymore. That's done. Now this is about the family on their quote-unquote homestead. Okay, fine. I enjoyed the barn project. Have a nice day. And I'm gone. But at least they were honest and upfront about it.
Yeah,
I
but
guess,
those are, but you do know that these are your standards that you're judging them
These
by.
are my standards, and I'm not judging the people who are putting out the videos as much as I'm judging ourselves. If I start feeling a little bit uncomfortable, call me Casper. I'm a ghost. I'm gone. But but that got me to thinking about, why do we do that?
But why? Why would you? I mean, why do we?
What is the fascination? Why do we get so emotionally involved in this other family that we have never met, when most of us have one of our own that we don't even talk to unless it's on a text message on a phone? Why do we feel the need to get so emotionally attached and interested in the story of
How do you know?
somebody we'll never meet?
But how do you know people are emotionally okay? I'll give you this example.
Read
This
the
is
comments. Just read the comments. You can tell that they're emotionally attached.
okay. That's a good answer to that. But let me give you one example that will not solve anything,
Hmm.
but it's just one example of a possibility, of one possibility out of a multitude of possibilities. Consider the United States of America and the amount of people out there doing different types of jobs and different whatever the case may be. There's too many people doing all sorts of things for me and you, or I'm sorry, you and I, to account for and understand. And so imagine one guy living up on a mountaintop with internet drawn from the road all the way down the hill, the slope,
Hmm.
and he's got internet, and the guy has that channel with that family, and he's up on that, and that brings him whatever comfort and stuff, and he plays it in the background, let's say. Or you see a woman that likewise a situation in the family, and this, or someone for just sheer interest. There's too many variables for why
Sure.
people would watch a darn, you know, show for one to even sort of like, at the end of the day, is it voyeurism? Yeah, we're watching. I mean, TV. Walter Cronkite giving out the news. I know it's news, but you're still it just going into their lives. Well, people do that with musicians
Well,
and rock stars and
but
and athletes. They want to learn the stats. They want to know. Oh, Tiger Woods just got married for the 19th time, or Kim Kardashian has an
sure, there's
extra.
always going to be, but see, that was always considered salacious and gossipy and kind of low class, you know? But there
Yeah,
was a whole trade involved in it. You're absolutely right about that.
yeah.
But they were after the sensational, they weren't after the mundane. Yeah, Tiger Woods just got married for the 19th time.
I don't know if
But
that's the case, by the way.
let's just say that it is. I mean, sorry, Tiger, like you'll ever hear this, but we didn't watch him put his shoes and socks on in the morning, and we didn't watch his kid learn to walk on YouTube, and we didn't watch them have their first solid food on YouTube.
And their first solid in
You know,
in the toilet.
yeah, and that's, I guess that's my issue comes back to the kids. I don't have I don't have any solutions at all.
Hey, I've got a brand new title for a YouTube channel.
It's that,
Have you had your solids today?
yeah,
And
well,
the content.
dude, well, you're absolutely right. You could put out a channel about anything. You could wear. I kid you not. You could sit in a room lit with two candles, and you could pull this off. You could sit in a room with two lit candles just so they could see that there was actually a person there in a pair of blue jean shorts and play a public domain folk song. Do that once a week, and you would get an audience because somebody would dig it. And they would start telling you, requesting songs.
And I don't see a problem with that.
I don't either, but you know what you're getting. You're getting what's advertised.
Yeah, but
You're
you're
you're not going to
considering
pick up you're not going to pick
no,
up your camera and suddenly follow Vigo outside.
no, dude. But see, here's the key. Here's the key with what you're saying. As advertised,
Mhm.
um, we're not so we're not paying for consistency. We're not paying at all
No,
on
we're
the
not.
level of what a channel is. So like let's go
We are.
dangerous. Let's go
We
dangerous.
we are. We're
How?
paying with our time.
Yeah, but that's it. That is our choice.
Exactly my point. And that's exactly my point. That's why I've walked away. I voted with my feet.
Right, but I'm trying to get to a point. I get that. I'm trying to
Uh-huh.
get to a point that this is not syndication in the sense that a channel, barring some infraction from the
Mhm.
platform, this is not a syndication where they're they're in it. They may not be in it for the same reasons as a Jerry Steinfeld episode,
Right.
talk show or a news organization, and they have the luxury of doing whatever the heck they want if they so choose.
Yeah.
And so we can't categorize them. I mean, we can, but they're not in the same category, these
And
YouTube channels.
and that's what I'm just saying. I'm just saying, be honest. If you want
Yeah,
to make a family vlogging channel, make a family vlogging channel. Go for it. I just find it unsettling because I don't think the kids really understand the ramifications of what's going on. And like I said, with that one family that built the barn, maybe the daughter decided, Dad, I don't want to be on the videos anymore. I don't know that. I don't
I
know
could
anything.
I
It's
could
just,
see
it was kind of an abrupt thing. She just stopped being in the videos.
I could see a situation with that you just said 10 years down the line where that daughter, now an adult, is completely embarrassed about her being in
Yeah.
the thing and wants it off.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, mom and dad are collecting buku revenue from
Yeah.
it and don't want it out. And then they have some sort of litigation in order to settle the situation. I can see all sorts of possibilities occurring, but um, that would probably not be most situations. There's always a crazy situation out there. Um, the
Well,
standard is now going to be 10 years from now, when kids have become adults in this new world, um, that they'll say, "Yeah, man, check out my video when I was a little kid over here." Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want you guys knowing my early videos
yeah.
when I was I could see a whole new
Yeah.
world arise from that.
Oh, yeah. I wonder how many fully grown married women are going back through their Facebook pages right now and deleting all the duck faces that they made because
Duckface is
they
so yesterday.
because they don't want their grandkids to see that they were a goof when they were in junior high school,
That is so. The Duckface is one of the most horrible things that people could have ever
Uh,
invented.
boy, did we ever
Duckface.
get off on a tangent. Well,
Well, look, we'll go
I
ahead and wrap it.
yeah, I don't have a solution
Yeah.
other than to just kind of, I said it before, and it's my own judgment and it's my own biases, and I admit that freely and openly. Don't feed the monster. I mean, a kid laying down in the middle of the store, kicking his heels and screaming for a candy bar is doing it for attention. Don't give him the attention. Just let kids be kids, but don't give them the attention.
My advice is a little bit more anarchistic in that I would say do that which you people out there, barring anything that's illegal, but do that which any of that you people, for better or worse, whatever the outcome, monetarily or embarrassment or whatever, do that which you all choose to
Yep.
do. And in saying that, my choices would probably not be your choices, but then
Mm-hmm.
again, what the heck, So that's my position on it. Let it run wild, because at the end of the day, there's no
Sure.
putting the ponies back in the stall.
Yep.
At this
Yep.
point, the genie back in the lamp. At this
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
it's we're gone.
Right. Well, but don't complain about how many stupid people are out there when that's what you're looking for.
Oh, that's a good last thing I'll say, at least from my end, which I thought of while we were talking, but this is too good of a topic to get it all, So there's a lot of good content out there
Mm-hmm.
on this platform, YouTube. There's a lot of great stuff, but here's the key. Great for me might be dog poo for the next guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Completely agree.
So here's the problem that we've talked about since the early days of YouTube, and since we've been hanging together, all of us have. Here's the problem. You cannot, I don't think you cannot not see that the majority of videos that get super massive like attention and hits and this and that, the majority are some of the lamest,
Yeah.
not like junk food video in the world. It's just
Mhm.
lame. It's shallow.
Mhm.
There's no soul to it. But notice, those are all things that are important to me
Mhm.
and maybe not important to the next guy.
Yeah. It depends
And
on what you're looking for.
right. And so, but I think we can, with some fairness, say that the most popular stuff out there that the majority gravitate towards is, see, I don't know that we can agree to it, because it might depend on our different standards. Maybe our standards are closer in line, which I think they would be within the general universe. But I think maybe we would probably roughly agree that the majority of what's popular is a bunch of dog crap.
I would agree with that. And that's what I meant when I said, don't complain about the number of idiots out there when that's what you're looking for.
Yeah,
Don't complain about the low level of the entertainment out there
yeah,
when you keep watching it. If you're tired of the Jerry Springer show, change the channel. That's all I'm getting at.
yeah. And you know what? When I was a kid, you'd go in on and you turn on the TV and it would be playing there, and you'd watch it. And as an adult, I've seen it through the YouTubes and stuff, and I've watched it for a little bit. I'm like, this is like soul eating.
Yeah.
It's like this.
Click.
It's the most dis- disturbing stuff in the world. And
Yeah.
so there you have there you
Yeah.
have it. Do you want to wrap this up, or?
Sure. Let's wrap it up on a disturbing note.
All right. We
This
do
is going
have
to be a
the
fun edit.
we do have the little moment afterwards after we close
Yes,
off.
we're gonna continue on here because there's a few comments I'd like to address. Yeah.
Okay, so I do want to thank you guys for coming back and hanging with us. We go live every Tuesday, and we did take that hiatus, but we go live every Tuesday at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, and that's here on YouTube, Trampled Underfoot Podcast on YouTube. We also have our page up on the web, trampledunderfootpodcast.com, which has all our previous episodes on that Wayback Machine tab, and you'll see them by titles and stuff. And then, frankly, by titles, I'll tell you, we have some wild titles where it's a surprise what's going to be in that podcast. So we do have a description to describe
Well,
the
yes,
details.
and the website is 100% searchable. Type just any subject in there, and if we've covered it, it'll take you to those episodes.
Okay, fair enough. And we do have a Facebook page, Trampled Underfoot Podcast on Facebook, and we're also sponsored by
Steve Nealon, the man, the myth, the legend, over at Harneal Media, your one-stop website shop. He hates it when I say that, which is why I say it. Serious business. Let's just talk you and me here, real close here. If you're looking to get a web presence, regardless of everything we just said, if you're looking to get a web presence, start yourself a website, you need to talk to Steve Nealon over at Harneal Media. He is Harneal Media. It's 100% personalized service. You won't be talking to some faceless, nameless guy sitting in a pair of khakis in a call center. You'll be talking with Steve. You'll be working directly with Steve. His prices are more than affordable, more than reasonable, and he is your guy. You want to make merch, he can set you up with a print-on-demand provider who will get your merch out to the masses. They take care of the printing. They take care of the shipping. You just sit back and watch the orders come in. That's Steve Nealon over at Harneal Media. That's HARNEAL media.com.
All right, excellent. Well, we did it.
We did it.
I can't believe and we're back in full force.
And
Apparently
I'm
the topic was pretty cool.
pretty
Um,
bizarre.
yeah, it was a tough one. Listen, we'll let you guys go. Catch us next Tuesday, 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, here on YouTube, Trampled Underfoot Podcast. Have a great week.
See ya. Okay, that's good enough of a break. Now we can sit here and go through the comments. Living Beyond Disability. This is the one I want to jump on here. He said, I never saw you having an issue watching my daughter grow up online. The difference, Jerry, is that I met you and your daughter and got to know you a little bit. You did not feature her. She was not the focus of anything you did online. What you were doing, whether it would be working on engines or working on machinery or something like that, that was the focus of the video. If she happened to show up, she happened to show up, but you didn't automatically cut away and follow her through the course of her day. That's the difference. You're not complete strangers to me. And to be honest, Amanda was, I think, 17 when we met. So it's a little bit different. A lot of different.
But see, there's a good example of, so we don't, all the different, possibilities out there. And it's a difficult thing to hone in on. So something like that, it's more of a family oriented, among friends, and it's not something like what you're describing. But frankly, some people just choose to, and that's okay too, in my opinion. I don't know what the effect on kids would be if they're little, but a teenager, that's the responsibility of parents and stuff. I don't know. That's why I say it's a too personal of a thing for people to really know what's right to say or not.
I just get uneasy, especially with young kids, because they don't know what they're doing and they don't have a say. I don't know. A big part of me, and I'll jump over here to diss my dog here, said way back when we were talking about child actors, said he was just going to mention child actors. It's exactly that. There are plenty of abuse cases in Hollywood of parents forcing their kids to act, and it happens on YouTube all the time. There's a lot of truth in that. I kind of look at it kind of like the vegan dog. The dog didn't make that decision.
Yeah.
Somebody else is making the decisions there. And yes, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of kids being put on YouTube and they don't really want to be there. You're absolutely 100% right. And I think that's what I mean by don't feed the monster. But in that we kind of get this morbid fascination with some things we see, and it's kind of like a train wreck. You can't turn away. Other times, and like I said, all you have to do is read the comments. You see these people are so emotionally invested with this family. You start kind of wondering, and it's happened where people have showed up at other people at these people's houses, and it's like
with a cake, standing there in the rain,
standing in the rain. I made you a cake, that kind of thing. It's there's this kid in Ohio, Iowa. There's this kid in Iowa who's a farmer, and he's trying to modernize his family's farm. And I've watched a few of their videos. I'm not a farm guy, but he's had some I found his channel because he was renovating his grandfather's house and putting up new siding and building a porch and stuff like that. He had some dude, they came home one night and there's some guy asleep in his pickup in there, right up there, parked next to the house. And they're like, hello. And he jumps out and, hey, I've been subscribed to you forever. And this, that, and they had to call the cops and have the guy taken away. It's just like,
look,
there's some creepy stuff going on, and that's why I'm unsettled with the kids.
So let's time out for half a second using that example. Yes, that's insane in that example. Mm-hmm. In that, two things I think. Let me try to let me just because this is a thing. This is a big an issue. It could be that guy that was sleeping was he sleeping in his own car at
his own truck?
Okay. So at least he had
Yeah.
So no, it would be okay. So please allow me the chance to.
Yeah.
But it would be different. I gotta go to that. But it would be different if they came home and he's sitting on their couch or with a feather duster, saying, "Hey guys, I'm here."
Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
so he's there. Here's the thing. It could be, I'm not saying it is. This is just a brain exercise. Futile, but it's a brain exercise. It could be that guy from his couch in his basement 300 miles away, it could be one possibility that he was watching for years, weeks, months, years, and he just felt a connection
Exactly my
with the
point.
information. No, but let me go through it. And then he said, you know what? I'm going to go. And he felt like part of that family. And so he got in his truck, his pickup, and drove that. And in his unrefinedness or innocence or obliviousness, whatever you want to call it, without malintent, it could be that he's just, because remember, there's people out there that don't put two and two together the way you
I know
would.
that. And that's my problem.
And then on the other extreme, it could be the other extreme.
Exactly that.
Right. Yeah.
He could have been sleeping in the other guy's truck or in the living room in a French maid's outfit with a feather duster going, "Oh, darling, you're home." That
it doesn't follow. It doesn't. Okay, look, it doesn't follow. But you have to take precautions. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the guy. However, we all know John Lennon.
There are people out there, and when you inject kids into it, I think you multiply the danger. And that's what I meant when I kept saying it's just a creepiness to it, because I mean, we have a mutual friend who had that happen to him. Some guy pulled up into his driveway when he was, he's in his garage, had the garage door open, and he's running the table saw. Car pulls into his driveway, and some dude who was subscribed to him that he had never met before in his life just showed up. "Hey, man, how you doing?" You know what? That's a good way to get shot. And the guy was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa." And they're like,
because people don't, because we don't.
That's where I'm going with this. We get emotionally invested in them, but they are total strangers. They don't know us from Adam's cat.
Well, that's what happens with actors and people that meet actors. Look, let me tell this story.
And that's what I mean. We used to call them stalkers. Now we call them subscribers.
Let me tell this story. John Lennon. It's in his Imagine documentary. I've told you this before, but he had his mansion in his huge man. And one day there was a guy sleeping out on their lawn and out in the lawn, and then they came out and they brought him over and they were filming. So incidentally, John Lennon was having his crew film the interaction with this guy, and the guy is in the film. He says, "Well, what are you doing?" He says, I've been sleeping there and stuff, and I just came." And he's an American guy back in the 60s. "I just came here, hippie guy. I wanted to meet you because I know that if I did, everything would make sense." And John Lennon's sitting there, and he says, "Well, everything does make sense if you're off on some trip." John Lennon says to him, and he says, "Yeah, but and he says, "But what?" John Lennon says. He says, "Like in the lyric, boy, you're gonna carry that weight for a long time." And John Lennon says, "Well, Paul wrote that one. I mean, it belongs to John Lennon. Paul wrote that one, but it belongs to all of us. But we write lyrics, and it could fit anything." He said. And sometimes I wake up, I write a song. Maybe at best I'll sing about Yoko, or that I had a good dump today. He says that word. He says, "But I'm not talking about anybody in specific." And he says, "Do you want to come in for some in a drink?" And the guy said, "Yeah." And he eats there with the Beatles and he's like this hippie guy. And so there you have an example of a 1960s loon. And poor guy, we don't know what his situation was.
You don't, but you also had a film crew with you, and you had a bunch of witnesses.
Yeah.
Our mutual friend didn't have anybody but himself. And yes, it was one guy that pulled up into his driveway while he was running a table saw, but it could have just as easily have been a van full of people. You don't know what's on people's minds, is what I'm getting at. We
You
put
don't.
ourselves out there, but we got to be careful. And
Yeah.
when you inject family, because maybe you have taken steps to protect certain information, but has your family taken those steps? You know, can you be sure that your wife or your kids aren't out there talking about it away from the house and giving away identifying information? There's some real freaks in this world.
Well, well,
And
there
I just
are.
think, don't feed the monster, man.
Yeah, but okay, but in the aggregate, okay, so look, in the aggregate, as far as human beings across the world, I don't
Yeah.
see. Okay, so the majority of people will not have that scenario occur to them simply by sheer volume of videos, sheer volume of,
Yeah.
like, most people don't give a crap. The truth
Right.
of the matter is that the majority of people, and that's not excusing that there is a possibility for, but I'm saying that the majority, we're awash in a world of, like, everybody's got videos, there's videos are, it's too
Yeah.
much.
Right.
And so chances are, but that doesn't mean one does not protect themselves,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly. And that's why I get uneasy because, dad asked for this. Maybe mom asked for this. But did the kids really? Are they old enough to understand some of the side effects of this? It's cute to be on video and it's fun and it's great. But do they really understand the
No, they
situation?
no, they don't.
No. And I think it's unfair to the kids to do that to them, to inflict our. It's not quite Munchausen's by proxy, but it might as well be.
But
You
there's a
know,
flip side to that. You don't know the future.
no,
Like,
I don't.
I agree with you, but, like, let's flip that on its head. You don't know that in the future, as a crazy example, you
Hmm.
don't know that in the future, and nor do I, that that kid that never got his, that followed these guidelines that you're saying, that kid, his family never took those public, live streams and this and that. You don't know that later there's going to be a whole slew of kids that feel deprived because the rest of the world had full
No,
access, and then they're like, was my childhood not important enough to, why didn't you guys, well, son, because we didn't want you to. It says, yeah, but look, my friends have it. So you can never, we will never satisfy all the scenarios.
I think that's a going to be a big minority because I think you're probably closer to the truth when you talk about all the kids going, "Oh my God, that was so embarrassing." I mean, think about you know, think about any girl you've dated. If their mother got out the photo albums and sat you down on the couch, look, here was Susie when she was 9 and didn't have her front teeth. The girl would go absolutely ballistic over that.
I
Don't
had a
show him my baby pictures. Don't show him that. Don't show him that.
my
But
grandmother
we have no problem with show him a video.
my grandmother had on the main wall of her, inside her house, a huge framed picture of me as a baby, naked on my belly with my ass cheeks sticking out, with a with a plush white furry thing draped over, in this blue sky looking thing. And every time I'd come in, I just stare at that, and it's like, it got to the point that psychologically I had to just, like, disassociate myself, that no, this is not me. And it's just sitting there like a little cherub. And I'm like, what the hell? And
But
to them it was embarrassing.
yeah, but that was in their house. That
Right,
wasn't outside on the garage door
right. But
for
still,
the whole world to see.
right, but I was still not appreciative.
Exactly my point. Living Beyond Disability come back. Jerry did says Amanda's thankful for the memories that are kept forever now, and you know what? That's perfectly fine. But again, on my standpoint, my biases, it's different to me because I've met you, I got to know you. You're not total strangers. I got to know you a little bit. I don't know your everything. But I respect your privacy, so don't pry. You're not total strangers to me. You're not somebody 4 towns away that I have never met before and have no hope of ever meeting. That to me, that's completely different. To me, it's no different than if my grandson or granddaughter started posting videos on YouTube. I would watch them too without an issue because I'm family. I know them. To me, that's different. It's I might have some input as to what they're putting out there, but hey, you do you. I'm a grandpa. I'm old. I'm supposed to be that way.
I think it's a very personalized thing that you're saying. I don't know that your standard is necessarily the ideal standard. If I had to side with a standard, I would be closer to you for my family, let's say, because of that. But it would depend. So if I had children that were, crafting or something like that, and they wanted, I could take a look at that. But I definitely, in my mind, I'm thinking, but see, this is my standard.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot wish that upon another human. I could not validly impose that upon another human being because simply it's none of my business. But I would probably look at that and probably ponder it. But there is that concern that you have been mentioning. And I do understand that as a concern. But for other people, maybe that concern is not a valid concern.
And maybe they've taken the steps that I'm just not seeing. I don't know. But
right.
It's just, I don't know. To me, it's a little creepy, a little freaky. I just don't. I would not impose that on my kids.
I'll flip it onto another little thing, and I hate to even say this. I'll just leave it broad, but you're gonna know what I'm talking about. There's this YouTube sensation couple that I find slightly, I don't want to use the word creepy, but a little bit cringy, where they're always happy, but the happiness is almost like intoxicatingly horrible,
put on.
Right. But here's the key. Even though I'm getting that vibe, I know that that's just my sort of filtering of the situation, because there's no way that you could sit 2 people down and watch the same thing. You can match a lot of, because we are using our senses to see a thing, but the conclusions we come to can vary wildly just by the sheer fact that we're 2 different individuals, let's say, let alone millions of people. So in that whole situation, it's best left up to the craziness of people's own decision making, as long as there's no damage.
Right.
Because there is in Western society, we do have these standards that I think are valuable and should be that line should be towed, in my opinion. But then again, that's still my opinion, right? So it's like,
and my first instinct is to protect, always. I mean, especially the innocent who may not really have a grasp on what they're doing. When you got 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, they don't know what's going on. They know daddy's got a camera and that's it. I mean,
right. Yeah.
But again, it's the vegan dog. Somebody else is making the decisions.
No, but in the context of this world, this wide world of so many people, okay, it's like the elk that are together. So there's safety in numbers as they're dashing across the savannah. Because there's so overwhelming amounts of data, of video, that there's safety in numbers. But do you really want to play the lottery? I get that.
Yeah. And, people seek it out. And a lot of it is proximity. I've never had it happen myself. I think there are maybe, and I've mentioned this before, I think there may be a dozen people in this valley that are interested in anything I do online. And maybe 1/8 of them have found me online.
Hey, I know where you live exactly.
I know you know where I live because I've given you my address. But
No, but here's a story. Here's a story. What if in some crazy I wish I could answer it in opposite with me, because I know that what I'd say is say, but I don't know what you're about to say. What if? So I know where you live exactly. So what if one day, without me mentioning anything,
Mhm.
you wake up, Linda's there, and you guys are just starting the day. You open the door, get the paper. Maybe you don't use the paper, but open the door, yeah, and I'm standing on your driveway. And, hey, dude, would it be
You
dun, 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 dun?
No, I'd welcome you in because you and I know one another.
So you would ask, what the hell are you doing here, dude? What's
Yeah,
up?
I would. Yeah, I'd be
Right.
shocked. I'd be surprised, but you'd certainly have a place to sit and a cup of coffee.
So I would do the same. So that was gonna be my answer. Same with all the people that I know,
Hmm.
like what we're talking
Now,
about here. So there is that.
now, a polite person would contact you first.
But wait. Let's change this up. Let's make this
You know,
let's step this up.
and the farmer who came home one night, and I mean it's dark, it's like 11 o'clock at night. The farmer who came home one night and there was some dude sleeping in his truck in his driveway.
Yeah.
He said, dude, if you'd have emailed me, maybe we could have, arranged a meeting or something, but you're a stranger. You don't just show up on my porch at 11 o'clock at night,
Okay, no, but wait, here we go. So Linda's there, so she can. So
Yeah.
Linda.
Yes,
So,
my better half is there. Yes.
so now let's wrap this up a little bit. I want to see
Mhm.
what you do. Let's ramp this up. Let's ramp this up a lot. So what if you and Linda, you wake up early in the morning, breakfast and this and that, and so you decide to walk out to the back, to your shop.
Uh-huh.
You open, click, you open the door, and I'm sitting there in the by your angle. Hey, dude, what's going on?
Again, I know you.
Yeah, but
That's a completely different thing.
Yeah, but is that not screwed up?
I might wonder why you didn't just come knock on the door,
Right.
but I get a surprise. I do understand the concept of a surprise, ta-da, here I am, check me out.
Okay, here's my
Now,
third
hold
one. You're
on.
too kind. Let me give you my third one,
Okay.
please. Here's my third one. I want to see your reaction on this one. You and Linda wake up. Oh, it's early morning. The breakfast is cooking, and you're like, you know what, man? Let me go to the restroom. And you open the door, and I'm sitting there smoking a cigarette.
Now we got to talk. So if
I'm trying to find a way for you to say it's not acceptable, because far I'm sitting on your drink.
You know what's not acceptable? Me getting up at 1 a.m. to go to the bathroom and stepping out into the kitchen and finding somebody asleep in Linda's recliner. That's not acceptable.
That was a great episode, actually.
It wasn't for us. Now, thinking back on it, it's kind of funny.
No, it wasn't for you guys.
But it wasn't at the time.
No, I'm saying the episode was good, not the experience. Well,
Yeah.
You know what? Honestly, that is an experience. You're going to have to forgive me that even though it was freaking scary, but it's an experience that you guys will never freaking forget. And it's actually...
Could you?
No, never. And I don't want to say it's worth the price of admission, but as far as a good story when you're out somewhere and hey, have you heard this one?
It's a great story to hear.
Yeah.
It's not so fun to tell. And Linda says you missed out on one thing. She doesn't do early morning. Yeah. So if it's before 10 o'clock, you just kind of catch as catch can. Before 9 o'clock, questionable. Before 8 o'clock, forget it.
So there's levels of absurdity. Obviously I went into the insanity, but the issue is
the issue is a stranger. The issue is a stranger. If you shut up on the door, I'd invite you in for a cup of coffee. If some guy from, I don't know, West Dump Truck, Kentucky showed up on my door, hey, I wanted to come check out your shop. Get off my property.
Yeah, see, the problem is that
Email me, we'll talk. You know, I've done it
There's
before. I had a visitor from Alaska. I had a visitor from Washington. I've done it before.
there's a
That's not a problem.
process.
Just yes, let's talk. You
There's
don't
a
just show up on
process.
somebody's door.
But you don't, but there's people that don't, they were never either they were never taught that there's and in their minds they're just so
And
enamored with your
and
work.
and then that's what I'm talking about, getting emotionally invested, because in
Yeah.
some of these videos that I've watched of a couple of these channels, you look at some of the comments and you think, oh, that's a fruitcake right there, and oh, that one's pretty nutty right there, and ooh, I don't know about that one. That'd be one to watch. You know, you wonder, are these people trying to, are they searching Google Earth for something that looks like, their home? I mean, I showed in one video, I showed a highly redacted plat map that I got from the county that just showed the shape of our yard. I mean, I took everything off of there. All it was is 5 lines to show the shape of our yard, to show how weird it is. I'm sure that somebody out there could take that, and just knowing the region that I live in, they might be able to find that lot. But good luck, because I know how to get into photos and get rid of the EXIF data, so you can't find a latitude and longitude of where the photo was taken, and I do use it. But you don't know who's going to be the guy with a cake and who's going to be the guy with a shotgun. And I'm not willing to take that chance. And I'm ding dong sure not willing to subject my family to it,
Yeah.
Linda was in one video in a brief time lapse for about a second and a half. When I hung the lights in my shed, she held one end of the light so I could hold the other one and put the screw in, and then move down and put the other screw in. Just the back of her head was there. So you could tell there were 2 people, but you couldn't see who it was. And that's the only reason that scene got put into the video, was because you couldn't identify her. And I want to keep it that way. It's fine for me to put myself out here. It's not fine for me to put someone else out there.
Unless they agree to it.
Yeah, exactly. And we really got to have a discussion, because they need to know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
I'm just, but I don't know why we as a society, as a collective group of people, get so emotionally involved in the story of total strangers. I get it for entertainment. I do.
But there is no we as a society, though.
But when you start thinking that just because you have watched all these videos and you know how they walk and how they talk, and you know something about them, that doesn't make you friends. That doesn't make you family. You are still a total stranger to that person, no matter how many times they click that little heart over your comment, or comment on your comment, reply to your comment. You're still a total stranger.
The person doesn't know on the other end what the other person's intentions are.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I know that if Eric Clapton let me into his house and we could hang out, that I it would be totally awesome. But Eric Clapton doesn't know that.
We would be friends. Yeah. And he doesn't know you from Adam's cat.
Right. Right.
So I was talking about, let's advertise, give me what I'm advertising, what I'm advertising. If you're going to be a home renovation channel, show home renovations. And Steve says, oh, you mean something like watching the shop shed on a CNC channel? Read the title. It's a CNC shop shed. And we also know who listens. I've also explained several times, this is to show people that you don't need a 30,000 square foot warehouse to have a home-based CNC business in your backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that is true. That is true. And as far as channels doing different things and this and that, I do just want to leave the caveat that within that most people come to, as far as what I've seen, to a video in your channel, not because of your channel, not in your case. I'm saying because in your case you have an actual specifically honed in sort of topic, and but people that do things with different titles and this and that, they come for the particular video more than they do. So most people
Yes.
are from outside your channel as opposed
Yes.
to
Yes.
subscribers.
I have a very high return rate, and this is not patting myself on the back. 46% of my views are from subscribers. 54 is non-subscribers. So it's still the majority of them are not subscribed to me, and that's fine. Thank you for watching.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I put out something that they're interested in, and they watched it. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's as far as that goes, though. You know, you're not going to find me reading from a book of haiku.
Right.
Now, I do have another channel. It's called Mark's Other Channel, where it could be anything. You know, I was cleaning up a spinning wheel one day and I started talking about spinning wheels. I said, this is good. Or started thinking about spinning wheels. I says, this is good stuff. I set up the tripod, punched the button on the camera, and just started talking to the camera while I was cleaning up a spinning wheel.
They
And then
suggest
shut it off, and that was it. I think 6 people have watched it.
they do suggest on like the YouTube
Mm-hmm.
creator thing and this and that. They do suggest a certain level of consistency in order for people to know that, hey, I'm coming back and getting the desired sort of, you know, content, and that builds a community around your channel. And is it like there's that whole thing. But I just do want to mention that there's a little bit of everything out there, and there's a discipline called, or not discipline. There was a movement in the 1920s, I think it was, or early 1900s, called dadaism,
Yeah,
and it was basically random stuff, poetry, random, and so there's the world of random as well. So
sure.
um,
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, people are going to watch what they want to watch, what entertains them. Or if they're looking for information, they'll look for that too.
yeah,
But Rick French has a very good point in that reality TV sells. Remember that family that claimed that their son was on board that homemade balloon and was later found hiding inside the house? You know? And I do remember that. It's been several years back. That's been a long time back. But yeah, you know. So, well, I don't have anything else. I mean, we've been going for almost 2 hours. But I guess that was just, you know, one
it
of the
was a
things that
good.
popped into my brain, you know.
You knew the answer though, right? That there's no answer.
I know, yeah, I knew the answer, but I still don't understand why we think we have to become so emotionally attached to the people
You're
we're
just not.
watching for entertainment. I don't get it,
I
and I
love how
never
you bring
will.
it. I love how you bring the point back, and it's like a never ending puzzle
Yeah,
because
yeah.
there's no way. And by the way, this is the kind of thing that I do enjoy
Mhm.
because there's so many alternatives, and I like alternatives because it allows for the to contemplate what if this, what if I like the what ifs,
Yeah,
what if this, what if that. So it is entertaining for me, although it is an exercise in futility.
sure, because there is no there, you know, there's no answer.
There's no answer, dude,
No,
and you purposely created a situation where it's broad enough.
well,
So if you would have said a specific thing, if you would have today, this evening, if you would have said just the act of putting your kids, on, and just focused on that, we could have sort of worked in that little world. But what you did was you created the issue with giving proper titles to the. You created a situation where it's so broad that it lasted us
because
this long.
but because it's all encompassing. It's all, and my issue was with mainly one channel. All of those things are involved. I put it that way because that's the way my brain went. At first, some things were cringy, and I'm like, I don't want to watch this, and I'd fast forward through it, get back to the staircase, and then, okay, well, is that what this is going to be about? All right, fine, shut off and go to the next video. And I started where I used to look forward to it. When the guy, it's a 30-minute video, and all 30 minutes is this guy pulling up floorboards, turning around and walking the plank, literally walking along the beam to get to the next section to pull up some more floorboards. That interests me. I mean, I'm looking at the construction of the old house. The thing was made in the early 1800s. It's well over 200 years old. That's interesting to me.
It is interesting.
What your kids had for lunch isn't. I'm sorry, it just isn't.
To you.
To me. And that's why, call me Casper, I'm a ghost.
And I'll say this topic was so there's so much to to talk about that we didn't even get to my topic, which was 1930s typewriters from New York City.
Let's get into that next week.
That exciting topic that I had set up.
Dude, you don't know what you just did.
Next time on the Trampled Underfoot Podcast, 1930s New York typewriters.
That's right. And the invention of the IBM Selectric. All right, guys, let's wrap this up.
Thank you for hanging with us. We'll catch you next time. Have a safe week and have fun.
It's good to be back. Catch you next week.
Ciao.